Welcome to FTB Weekends. It is the 15th of October. It's currently 11:56 in the AM. I am Jason C. McLean, and of course, I am joined by Dawn McSweeney. Hey, Dawn, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good. You?
Very good, very good. Now, climate change is very important, so we're going to start talking about climate protests like Greta Thunberg and all that stuff. But there's another climate protest you want to talk about that's not Greta Thunberg.
Well, it's not. It's more of a clout chasing trend than an actual viable climate protest in any effective sense, which is people defacing and okay, so lately people have been gluing themselves. I don't know if you've seen, to works of art in museums and screaming about the environment, although the two are, for all intents and purposes, unrelated. Like, there's so many things you could complain about rightly at a museum: the
Yeah.
theft, the repatriation of stuffs, anyway. But somehow they've decided that ruining stuff at museums is how you discuss the environment now. So in the UK yesterday, a couple of broads threw tomato soup at Van Gogh's famous painting Sunflowers. Now, it's protected by glass, so that's okay. They did damage the frame, which is, some of those things are pretty impressive. And so they have been arrested, but this was their attempt to stop oil.
There's a little bit of a disconnect. I mean, was Van Gogh pro big oil?
Well, so I saw a great tweet yesterday that said, y'all got me out here Googling to see if he was a colonialist, and really what I found is he was depressed. Like, it is weird. Like, he was just such a depressed dude. And plus that, it's like, soup was so Andy Warhol, like, guys. But no,
Yeah, but if they threw soup at an Andy Warhol, would that count as like
Andy Warhol would call it art.
Yeah.
But once again, it would have nothing to do with stopping fossil fuels. Like, how about you go block a road? Oh, by the way, like, there's a million things you could do that would be more along the lines of dealing with directly the environment than going and messing up stuff. So these ladies have been charged, 20 and 21, I think their ages are. They've been charged with attempted harm to a Van Gogh and actual harm to the frame. And the disconnect is just so wild. It feels like clout. I saw different angles of the video, so I know there were a bunch of people.
One thing that does, what about the museum itself? Is this a museum that donates to fossil fuel companies, or could that have been the angle?
Oh, to my knowledge, that's not how that works. Museums tend to get money. They don't give money. So if anything, it would be like our Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. Like,
is BP a sponsor of the Van Gogh exhibit or something like that? If there's something like that, I could kind of see the correlation.
I appreciate your attempt, but because it's been a trend of people just gluing themselves to frames and ridiculousness, it seems unrelated, and just because it catches a lot of attention, and it catches attention because it's ridiculous. And as a result, it strikes me as a big to-do by some very privileged kids who really aren't doing a protest. Like, I don't know. Remember when people used to live in trees to protect them?
Yeah.
Like,
did they get comped into the museum? Did they have to buy like expensive tickets? Like that's a pretty expensive protest. Like,
listen, as a proud member of the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts, I can't even imagine the feeling I would have if I was standing there and somebody just launched that. If you go see, I retweeted Connor Blaine, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We've written an article about him previously on Forget the Box, but on Twitter, and he was very plainly like, if I see that ever happen, somebody's catching hands. Like, I would tackle the person. Like, in case security can't get there fast enough, if I see somebody trying to mess with art, I can't even imagine.
Could you scream out the name of the website too, so we get some clicks if this thing's going viral when you're doing that?
Yes. World Hip Hop. What?
No, forget the box.
Oh, yes.
No, forget the box.
I'll tackle somebody.
On this website.
Forgetthebox.net. Forgetthebox.net.
You probably forget and say .com or something like that.
Oh, jeez, that's your own fault. But
get
the app. There's an app on Android.
Yes. All right. Well, speaking about quote unquote protest, well, I mean, the whole trucker protest that was like this freedom rally or whatever, like now that's coming up to trial with in particular Trudeau's use of the Emergencies Act. Now, I think that he wouldn't have had to have used the Emergencies Act if this had been treated like a native protest or something like that. It would have been clamped down right away.
Yeah.
But talk about privileged protesters that were
Yes.
allowed to disrupt Ottawa for weeks.
They were in
then
hot tubs in the streets, and if they were honestly, if they were natives having a peaceful protest, and they were trying to
or
protect
even
their
or even climate activists,
because
even
we're
real
old,
climate
Jay.
activists. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we remember the Oka situation in real time. And so that's like the extreme, but I think, you know, we've all been alive long enough to see you know, the situations and the imbalance, for instance, in the Maritimes when there was some dispute over fishing treaties, and native fishers were were basically under threat of violence, and there was trouble and everything. Like it really, we have big balls depending on who we're fighting, eh? That's
yeah.
what
Well,
I'm saying. Because
even
there were
even
white men in
real
beards and hot tubs on the streets of Ottawa, and nobody seemed to care. And I understand. Listen, I went to Occupy, so I can only be half mad at this. I could say that Occupy didn't take place in a street, or we would have been cleared super fast. We were in a park,
in a
and
financial district.
and we were abiding by like, I was there for a week, I was there for a minute, but I loved the shit out of it. But they had to abide by the noise restrictions, or they would have been cleared out, right? Like, it was, nobody was blaring horns. Like, this is the interesting thing here, is that it's the damage that was done to residents is my interest in it. And then how much I want to know, were the police purposely just chilling until the Emergency Act was in, or were they letting it get too big because they wanted to be able to have the spectacle so they could crack down and have the excuse to super crack down? So I am kind of curious to see where it goes. But at the end of the day, the residents of Ottawa got screwed so hard that, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Even if it wasn't a native protest, even if it was just like even a radical environment protest, not the
actually chained to a
kind,
tree, or actually chained to a pipeline, they would have been taken out in no time.
Or if it was Occupy, but if Occupy had like gone on to like Parliament buildings or something like that,
if Occupy had blocked a street, like we had when Occupy went for a march, there were police and everybody was on our side and everybody was doing the correct march. And then when it was the sit-in part that lasted a good amount of time and was pretty impressive, it was not blocking traffic. It was in a park. And I think that's also it, is like, at what point, when you're blocking traffic like that, and when you're blocking, you know, I understand that they did it to get attention. Now the question is, what was the response to it, and how was that handled? And I'm curious.
Native protesters blocking a bridge or blocking a pipeline, that's a different story. That gets cracked down on in 2 seconds.
Immediately. They're like, oh, immediately. It boggles the mind.
And just so we're talking about, actually we're going to talk about a third protest in a bit, but we're talking about protests today. But the thing is, like, I love, for example, Maple Spring, like the student protest. I love that was an amazing thing every night. I definitely, but
once again, it was a small window of loudness, right? Like, if somebody was outside my door honking the whole time, I would lose my whole shit.
And with that one, they had the casserole, but the people got out on their balcony and started banging their casseroles too. So it was with the community. It was part of the community.
And it lasted 10 minutes at a specific amount, like time. Like, it wasn't.
It was all summer. It was all summer and fall. But yes, it was every 10
6
minutes.
p.m.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is I can't imagine the situation if you're a resident there, the way you felt abandoned by police. So one of the people I heard testifying was saying that she often saw people doing all sorts of crimes and the police just standing there. So the question is, were they purposely ignoring it because they were on side? Were they purposely ignoring it because they wanted it to get out of hand so they can use the Emergencies Act? Or did they just feel overwhelmed, and like, if they tried to do anything, they were in danger, which is a fair assessment as well. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out, because I'm curious what was going on behind the scenes and everything.
Yeah, and also one thing that has played out.
Speaking of behind the scenes, do it.
Well, in the U.S. Oh no, we're gonna come up to that. But in the U.S.,
behind the
Trump,
scenes. Because we recently just saw the unreleased footage of Pelosi behind the scenes. That was the segue, Jay.
Oh, okay, yes. But then Donald Trump is finally, the January 6th committee is actually calling on Donald Trump to former president to actually come and testify. Now, whether or not he'll actually make it there or not is another story, because there are midterm elections, and if the Democrats lose the House, it'll be a different committee.
Yes,
But
it'll be the committee originally is supposed to be giving its findings in December, I think is the story, and they still want to be able to do that. So they don't really have a lot of leeway, and if they lose control, they could get shut down earlier. Listen, I've kind of just given up on the States. They're going to have to give me a reason to believe that everything's cool over there, because I'm pretty sure the whole thing's just under hostage. Like, it's too crazy. My daughter's in North Carolina currently, not far enough from where there was a shooting while she was there, right? So she was like, it's crazy. I no longer have the space for thoughts and prayers for them, because it seems like such an even battle. Like, there really are, like, I don't understand what's happening over there. There are so many bad guys. At what point do you have hope?
well, we've had shootings in Canada as well too, in
Blah
Montreal.
blah blah.
Actually,
I know
a
that's
couple of
what
them. Yeah, like
there's over 500 mass shootings in America so far this year. Like, at a point we have to be like, yes, we have shootings here. I'm not denying that we have shootings here. Thankfully, I still feel safe to go the majority of places, the majority of times.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't I used to go to the States when I was a kid. I would go to the States now. I don't feel safe.
I have a lot of friends there. There's certain places I like to visit, but yeah, as far as feeling safe, I would still probably go, just on the off chance that I wouldn't be in the state where that would be hit with a random
Also,
thing
by the
at
way,
that point.
so
Yeah.
speaking of Trump, though, if he does show up to testify, there's a good chance he'll plead the fifth, which is funny because he notoriously said that people who plead the fifth are guilty. So, of course, his people who support him and agree with him are going to continue to do so. So basically, it's the voids screaming at one another.
Well, screaming at one another is what sometimes people do at punk shows, and I don't know if that's a
Good
good
job.
segue.
Really very good. I think
Yeah,
that's very
but
good.
it's a musical, so yeah, you're gonna go see a show on Monday, I think.
No, it's so tomorrow, the Loser
Tomorrow,
Jamboree,
yeah.
I believe it's called. It's a punk flea market. My cool sister tipped me off to, so we're gonna go meet up there tomorrow. And so it looks like it's gonna have some pins, some music. There's going to be shows. There's going to be kiosks. So it's more like a little arts show, I guess, in a way. Stomp Records has a booth there, and it just
All
for all
right,
the
okay.
artsy craft shows that are about to come with winter. If you have somebody on your Christmas list who maybe prefers something a little more off the beaten path, that might be the place to go tomorrow
Oh,
at
cool.
Funs at
Fufun.
11 a.m.
Do you know that fufun is French for electric buttocks?
I do.
Yeah, yeah. That's some knowledge for you, those of you from outside of Montreal. And of course, we're gonna have our Montreal Arts and Music this week coming back. We also have more Comic Con posts from last week from James Garwood. We already had some of
Those were
his
great
photos
pics. I
up.
was following
Yeah,
along, enjoying those pictures.
cosplay. Yeah, because the American cons, they have the big stories, the Picard trailer, this and that. But James likes to focus just on the people on the ground, the
The
cosplay,
people
that
on the
kind of
ground
stuff.
are the
Yeah,
ones that make it, really. Like, without them, it's just a bunch of famous people showing up together. Like, it's the people showing up that makes it so interesting.
yeah, yeah. Well, what's interesting, you also had a book. You were part of a book reading a few days ago. That was
At
must have been
Argo
fun.
Bookstore, by the way, shout
Cool.
out Argo Bookstore. Follow them on Instagram and on Twitter, the oldest independent English bookstore in Montreal.
Green Avenue, is it Green Avenue still, or
No,
are they
it's
sold
on
out?
St. Catherine Street. I
Oh
hadn't
yeah,
been
that
to
one.
their new location. It's beautiful. And yeah, it's gorgeous, and I was lucky enough to be part of that with the NaNoWriMo folks. Thanks to Holly Rhiannon, shout out. I am still reading her book. Get your copy now in time for spooky season, Time When Demons. And
Yeah, spooky. I'm going to be hosting ghost tours during the spooky season. I'll
and
be in
I
Montreal.
will
That's
have an upcoming
yeah,
review of it. So
of course,
I'll keep you
yes.
posted on that.
And check for all this great stuff. Always, we can
Buy my
follow. Forget,
book, The
yeah.
Mountains We Climb by Accident.
Yeah, by Dawn McSweeney, and you can read. Also, you can see some of these photos on Forget the Box on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow at Moxie Dawn McSweeney on Twitter and Instagram, at Jason C. McLean on Twitter and Instagram. On Facebook, if you're watching this video, like the video, share it, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, And we're at Forget the Box on Facebook and YouTube. Smash that like button, ring the bell for notifications, and for you can check out our Android app, of course, and for daily content, you can wait for daily content. Please check out forgetthebox.net. We'll catch you next week for another FTB weekend.